What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude, and yes, once again Florida Panthers is playing. It is the Stanley Cup final game 2 right now. They are winning. Previously, whenever we were watching together, we were lucky, so guys, let's cheer for Panthers once again. All together, let's go Panthers. But okay, let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Okay, today we have this Chinese propagandist who is talking about Japanese mercenaries fighting in the Russian army on the territory of Ukraine. Well, if you ever wanted to play a nation's bingo, right now you have a full set. I'm not unfortunately entirely sure what this guy is talking about because the whole video is in Chinese, but according to the people in the comments, he's talking about the absolute dominance of Japanese fighters among Russian ranks, these two guys. So most likely he's saying that these are the two people who completely changed the entire Eastern front line. But according to, once again, the commentary, this is a propaganda, and I mean, just if you think about it, it does not make sense that two people can win the entire front line, so let's just leave it as it is. But okay, as always, it is time to talk about serious stuff. Let's talk about the biggest literally attack against the Crimean Peninsula so far. Then we're gonna talk about the president of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, literally sacrificing a couple of dozen men just for a TikTok video. And then we're gonna talk about Russia losing 16% of its absolutely restricted area. What it means, you will know soon. And so yeah, to begin with, according both to Ukrainian and Russian general staff, these last days there was a significant attack against the Crimean Peninsula. Right here on the map you can see the areas which were affected, and Ukrainians primarily were targeting Russian military airfields and air defense systems. Majority of these attacks were extremely successful. And as you can see on this next map, this is where the majority of Ukrainian missiles were launched from the right side of Kherson region, which once again shows you the importance of Ukrainians recapturing that territory almost 2 years ago. And so yeah, one of the first military airfields which was affected was Gvardeyskaya. Right here we can see the approximate impact site, and then also another one was located in Jankoy. Right here we have the picture of before, and right here is a satellite image of after the attack. Reportedly, some air defense systems S-3 and S-400s in Tarkhankhut and Yevpatoria were also targeted by Ukrainians, and right here we have the satellite images of before the attack, which shows that yes, there was a pretty big concentration of those military machines. In another Russian military airfield located in Akhtubinsk, several military fighter jets were located, and according to this satellite image, at least some of them were severely damaged. And for absolutely unknown, at least to me personally, reasons, in Belbek airfield, Russians for some reason decided to literally paint one of their fighter jets in pink color. Like, this is not a camouflage. So was this for Ukrainians to easily target these fighter jets? I have no idea. Why would you paint a jet in a pink color? Guys, please let me know your best assumptions down below. So as you can see, a decent number of military airfields, fighter jets and air defense systems were targeted, and some of them were destroyed by Ukrainians, so that to sum it all up, right here is the map which shows exactly where air defense systems of Russians were destroyed. This is obviously done in preparation for the further assault attempts by Ukrainians against the Crimean Peninsula, because first of all you need to blind the defenses of Russians and then you attack them. But nevertheless, Ukrainians continue to try and cross Dnipro river as we speak. For example, right here is the video from Oleshki, where a local small Ukrainian drone operators unit was destroyed by Ukrainians. But okay, now let's switch our attention to the east of Ukraine, and then we're gonna talk about Kadyrov, who is ready to literally give it everything just to record a TikTok video. But first of all, right here is a very intense video from Seversky frontline, where Ukrainians first of all used their FPV drones to find the location of Russian entrenched positions, and then they did a raid against those positions of Russians, eventually obviously fully completely annihilating them, leaving absolutely no chances for those remaining Z soldiers. The full version of this successful raid by Ukrainians you will be able to find on my Patreon, and yes, it will be fully uncensored. The link is down below. At the same time, along Bakhmut front line, Ukrainians were also able to perform a successful counteroffensive next to Klishchiivka. But without a doubt, the most interesting event of the last several days is that the president of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, he decided to publish another extremely controversial TikTok video. And this one was from the neighboring settlement in Sumy region, located in Sumy region, and the settlement is called Rizhev, which one is literally located on the border between Russia and Ukraine. Long story short, what happened is that allegedly Russian saboteurs, a diversion group, crossed the border, pushed Ukrainians out of it, captured the settlement and installed even their flag on one of the municipal buildings. Later it was even mentioned that this flag was mined, so whenever Ukrainians come to remove it, there will be consequences, obviously. So basically already immediately allows us to assume that Russians only did it for the video. They knew it since the beginning, they will leave this settlement and Ukrainians will retake it back. And guys, Panthers just scored another goal, so 3-1, let's go Panthers. Let's go, baby. And so long story short, this TikTok by Ramzan Kadyrov, it was heavily discussed by the Russian Z propagandists, saying that finally the Z army crossed the border in Sumy region and now it launched its another northern offensive. But, well, since the very beginning, there was something fishy about this whole video. Even the Russian Z patrons, they were already questioning, like, where is this even city located? Apparently then, according to Ukrainians and according to this Freedom of Russia fighters, such for example Russian Volunteer Corps and the Freedom of Russia Legion, they did mention that yes, there were Russians present in Rizhevsky, but this is an extremely small settlement. First of all, this settlement was under constant changing hands almost since the beginning of this war, because if you remember, this is literally on the border between Russia and Ukraine. So it is absolutely normal that this day Russians control it, the next day Ukrainians take it back, then Russians do again some offensive attempts, and so on and so forth. Basically nothing extraordinary happened. And what I mean by nothing extraordinary happened is that in terms of territorial control. But extraordinary consequences were suffered by those Z soldiers. Because according to this message, which is by the Z propaganda presented one of Telegram channels, at least 21 Z soldiers never left Rizhevsky. So, literally, for this offensive, for this video, just so that Ramzan Kadyrov can show how good his soldiers are, he was like, well, yeah, war has its consequences, there are inevitable casualties, there are inevitable sacrifices, but so what? At least we have a video which is supposedly to boost the morale of the Russian army. Well, it didn't. But wait, there is more. You already guys know that the West green-lighted Ukraine to use its weapons on the territory of Russia, and so apparently according to one of the most recent reports by the Institute for the Study of War, the area of this untouchable, super secure sanctuary of the Russians which are using to launch their own offensive against Ukrainian forces, now this area basically shrunk by at least 16%. And even though, yes, the range of HIMARS, ATACMS and other Western ammunition is much longer than this 16% of Russian area, the West is still a little bit cautious about allowing Ukraine to do whatever they want. To begin with, they allow to strike the neighboring regions, Belgorod, Kursk and so on, but in the future, if this will not change the way Russians do their own offensive against Ukraine, maybe and most likely this area will expand. Because after all, the very first thing that Russians did is that they moved further from the borders their military vehicles and equipment, and so far pretty much they continue to do exactly the same, which started another debate, at least according to this report by the Institute for the Study of War, which started another debate in the West whether Ukraine can attack legitimate military targets on the territory of Russia whenever they are located. And ultimately, now guys, let's talk about another very controversial and extremely highly discussed topic which is going right now on the internet, is that Putin allegedly selected his successor. I mean, yes, he's not going to transfer power right now as we speak, not in the near future, maybe not as long as he is alive, but eventually the transfer of power has to happen, and Putin will most likely have to select a person he trusts the most to continue his greater good of the Russian Empire. So let's talk about this right now. This will be an extra chapter for my Patreon members, guys. Very interesting topic. I'm very curious to hear what you think about, so please go ahead and let me know down below your comments on Patreon whether do you think this guy deserves the position of Putin or not. And if you want to continue watching and see fully uncensored episode, the link to my Patreon is down below. 1 week of free access for every single one of you to try the service to see if you like it or not. Also the best way to support my work. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot with the algorithm. All the other useful links are down below. My PayPal, Patreon, Instagram, and of course merch, hoodies, iPhone cases, pants, t-shirts, you name it. Everything is down below. Thanks so much for watching and see you tomorrow.